realms.
All right, I'm trying to get a live stream here so I can share it with them. But this is a new podcast. We'll be doing. My name is Preston here in Dallas. I've been a part of the Truth Movement, I guess, for about 10 years, thinking for myself. And this is Fenry Beats. He lives in Spain. He's an Argentinian musician. Is on his own truth, and we've been friends for quite some time now, 6 years or so. And so just mixing it up a little bit and gonna have guests on here and just talk about current events and conspiracies and things that float through our channels. So, how's it going?
Good, man. How you doing?
Great, great, great. So, there goes my wife.
So, what's new in your neck of the woods?
Not much. Everything's pretty good in Texas.
That's right. You're in Texas. That's one of the best places to be, I'd say, right now.
So, I think it was about time to do a conspiracy podcast. What's great about this, we can keep adding as many people to it as we want if we wanted to have guests on here. So,
Yeah. Cool.
um, I don't have a live yet. Hold on. Here we go. The realms, deceivers, and believers. Muted.
Link me up there when you get a chance.
You can hit either one of us up on Facebook if you want. I'm currently banned for talking about COVID.
I got Facebook pulled up. I'm gonna share this on.
Okay. I heard echo of my voice. So this is both of our first times doing any kind of podcast. So if you get any kind of criticism, constructive criticism to give us, that would help us out, and the fluidity of this would be great. So
what you got on your radar, Preston? What you got on your radar?
I thought we could talk about a few different things. The UFC today, Kwame-Brown, Diego Sanchez. If anything else, current events that's currently going on with the world today. Something that's been on my mind a lot is the firmament and raining. It's been raining a lot here in Texas, and I've just been paying attention to a lot of the different colors of the skies. You know me. I'm always looking at the sky.
Fill me in on your latest observations. Please indulge me.
Well, we'll get into that. And
All right.
what else? But yeah, I'm always sky observing. You know me. But what else? What else can we talk about? Mask, no mask, how it's going over there and here.
Well, let's start off with that.
All right.
Let's start off with that because I had an argument yesterday because of the mask thing here. I don't know if you're aware, but over here in Spain, where I'm at, Catalonia, I'm in Barcelona. It's mandatory everywhere. Doesn't matter if you're alone, up in the middle of a mountain, you have to have it on, according to the mandate. I myself choose not to wear it anyways. I usually don't have a lot of problem. I've passed in front of many police officers, and many cop cars drive by. I'm always usually on either on bike or on an electric scooter. And they don't tell me nothing. But it's the people that usually give you a bad face or you might have an interaction with. I went busking after a long time not being able to go busking again. Everything's a little bit opened up. They're allowing people to sit outside on tables again. Obviously, when they sit down, they don't have to have a mask on. So when I'm go busking and I do my music, I sing. Obviously, I'm not wearing a mask. I don't wear one anyways. And when I pass around the tables to pass the hat around to pick up the possible coins that people might give me, never had a problem last year when this was going on as well. But today, yesterday, somebody didn't tell me exactly. I passed by, and it was funny because this table actually gave me money as well. I passed by, they gave me money, but then I kept on going. And as I was leaving, the waiter came to me and said, "Hey, next time, please put the mask on to pass by." And I thought it was odd. This waiter, mind you, knows me for about 10 years that I've been doing this in the same circuit, in the same area. We all know each other. We're the people that work there. And I'm like, why are you telling me that? I don't work for the restaurant. And he got all upset. He's like, no, it wasn't. It's not me. It's the customer who said it. So I was like, which one? So then I went back to talk to her, obviously keeping my distance. And I said, but why are you so concerned? Like, what's the difference of you sitting there without a mask on and me passing by with a mask on? And she was like, well, because I'm eating, you're not eating, so that's the law. And I couldn't believe it. I didn't even stop to argue. I just realized there's nothing to argue there. Okay, I was like, okay, that's the science behind that. So, but over here, it's kind of that's the situation there. It's getting real. To me, it's really starting to take a toll, because I can't believe so many people have just totally subscribed to it without there being any scientific data behind it or whatnot. No studies to prove anything that what they're saying the mask does. Anyways, that's the situation here. Nothing like that in Texas, I imagine.
Yeah, what were you saying about the scientific studies is the problem I have is it's changed so much. Like coming from the authorities, right? The CDC's changed mask, no mask, 2 masks, no mask. Well, if you get your vaccine, don't get your vaccine.
Yeah,
I don't like the fact that it's all over the place and you've got people frantic and panicking. That's the part that bothers me the most is people's reaction to everything. Yeah, it's such a sensationalized tunnel vision view. Everybody's walking with their blinders on, I think.
Well, but there isn't actually a study that has been done that says that they claim, that they could say, okay, look, we've done these studies, and here we've shown that this reduces contagion or whatever. That doesn't exist. It doesn't exist anywhere.
Yeah, I mean,
they've never done it.
I'm a firm believer in herd immunity, that we do synchronize together. Like women synchronize with the moon, men's testosterone will increase around other males with high testosterone. I believe healthy people need to be around healthy people, and to believe that they're healthy. Just like, me, I'm real spiritual in a sense where I believe we're gods, and that we're supposed to tell ourselves that we're gods, and that gods aren't supposed to die to being weak. And the only reason that, to me, that you die is because you're sick. And healthy people don't die and get sick. That's really my opinion on that whole subject. And it's about as broad as I want to stroke it, right? Like, because I don't want my channel getting monetized. But I believe if you're sick, stay away from people. That's courtesy. Because I do believe you can pass germs and contagions. I've seen my kid go to school and one kid get the entire class sick. I've seen that shit. So, like, you know what I mean? We've seen that. We've been a part of it. So I see all the conspiracies on Facebook saying, well, germs don't exist, or like you can't pass sicknesses and colds. I see a lot of nonsense.
The thing is that there's two sides, right? Because then you got people speaking nonsense, but then you can actually find like Andrew Kaufman and different virologists, people who are experts or considered experts in their field, and they don't spew the same nonsense about not being contagious, but they give you another angle to it. They talk about exosomes, and they talk about different things. The thing with the kid, for example, I seen that with my kid too, and not only did I see it, but I seen it disappear. Now, after he stopped going to daycare, after everything happened with this situation, he stopped going and he stopped having any. I mean, when he was going and being around all his little classmates, all his little schoolmates, at least once every 2 weeks, he would come down with fever and very stuffy nose, to the point that at nighttime we would be waking up to like take the boogers out of his nose or make him sleep with a pillow so he'd be inclined so he could breathe. This all disappeared after he stopped going to school. Now,
a lot of those kids are all
exactly. So that's the thing. That's the thing that one thing is I think there's one thing is an explosion is something the body does naturally, and that purge that it does, that toxins purge that it does. I don't think that one myself, not because I believe in something, just from listening to all the people who counter the experts in their field. Kaufman, I forget a lot of their names. I'm really bad with names and remembering who are the people I listen to say this stuff. But they have a pretty good convincing argument. And then the fact that these people are never allowed to debate. They're never allowed to debate the so-called peer-reviewed, settled science about all these issues. They're never allowed to go on any platform. They're totally shut down and censored and labeled crazy or whatever. That, to me, that's a big red flag, and that's an indicator that the stuff that they're saying, there's got to be some truth to it. In other words, I believe that natural purge that the body does, that one I don't think it's a contagion. I think we have it simultaneously because of the change of weather and stuff like that. Then there's a bunch of factors of when people they're in small groups and maybe show same symptoms to anything. There's a bunch of different explanations that I heard. It could be things you ate, things you shared. There's a bunch of different explanations, could be, But yeah, my take on all that is I think the natural purge the body does, that one, I don't think that one's contagious. I think that's why, for the same reason, the annual flu jab, it never got rid of anything. It never got rid of everything. People were getting that for years and years, and it didn't eradicate
because the flu strain changes every season.
Well, because that's what they tell us, but also because maybe it's just something that naturally happens to the body. Like you can't change that. Something that happens to the body. Now it's different if you have been given alive something. I think that's where the game changes. I think that might be something you can actually get somebody else involved in from getting too close or whatever. That's how I see it after hearing both sides, because most of my life I've heard the germ theory, right? I only started looking to terrain theory maybe 10 years ago, a little bit less, 2011, 2010. That's when I started waking up to the whole terrain theory and why, these the V schedules were necessary and how they all incremented. You've seen that, right? Where they'll show you the V schedules.
They got more and more.
The graph across, like when they were introduced, in the turn of the century, and they were introduced, and there was that little. Then you look at all the autoimmune diseases that there is, and how they've skyrocketed, and they pretty much go up with the amount, of doses that each year gets incremented on these schedules. You got stuff like that, and that's, and the fact that they keep that away from the mass majority of people, they don't even allow them. No one's really making informed decisions when it comes to that. We haven't been. I didn't do it. I did it with my first 3 children. I did it. Because I wasn't informed. We're taught to think, yeah, they're good. That's it. You even have doctors who say they don't know. They were always subscribing them, and later on they learned. They were just taught that, yeah, that specialist, he did that study, so I recommend it to my patients because I trust in what he studied. But they didn't even know the ingredients, maybe, I've heard doctors even say that. So
yeah, I have a son who has been diagnosed with autism, right? So I believe his is from, toxicity, and he seems to be coming out of his shell, so like it's almost like a fog that he went through from 3 to now, where he's coming out of it, he's starting to communicate more and talk. So, and I was ignorant then. I got them all in one day. I was doing a lot of just following along. Like kwamebrown says, the go along, get along gang, and a lot of people were just going along with life and just allowing the narrative of whatever you should be doing and accepting it. And I was sleepwalking pretty much.
But it's what we all got taught, though, isn't it? Though we're supposed to trust these people. We got taught since little in all these institutions, and that's where you can see that's where it begins, But that's what we got taught. At the end of the day, we're all victims. That's why I still don't even get mad with people. Sometimes I gotta remember, like, it's a matter of information. We've been lucky, maybe, or for some reason, came across the information and were able to digest it and then start, reaching our own conclusions. A lot of people are not able to do it. Simply not able to do it. They just still believe what they got taught. I mean, and it makes sense. You got taught that. And everybody, all the people you look up to, your parents, family, teachers, all from kindergarten throughout university, they all agree with you. They all believe the same thing. Hey, listen, I think we have a problem with the live. It's frozen on my end.
It's frozen on your end?
On my end's frozen. I've already restarted it.
It is frozen. Let's see, did they cut my live?
Dude, don't tell me we said so. We didn't say nothing. I mean, is it there?
I'm still live.
Okay, here we back now.
We're back. So,
I can see it.
how long was it like that?
I noticed it maybe a couple minutes, 2 minutes, and when I noticed it, it stayed up till now. It wasn't that long. I told you about it right after I seen it.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we can swap over to Kwame Brown now. Speaking of having live feeds cut, he had his live feed cut a couple times already.
Yeah? When though? Now recently with all this stuff going on, or from
I was
videos?
watching one of them recently, and he had, I want to say, about 23,000 people watching him, and he was going in on some like the productive talk, not the drama, but he was talking about black male leadership and what you can do with the community zones that Trump made, and how to really help your community, and it just went off like so.
Yeah, the opposite of everything he's exposing. I'm glad he's showing a lot of people that, because a lot of people weren't able to see it. I'll be honest. Look, the other day you told me about Kwame Brown, and I said to you, "Who's Kwame Brown?" I've been away from the States so long and stopped watching NBA years ago, so I didn't even know about the guy. But what I was gonna say was the fact that he's saying all these things. I didn't even really realize that it's true that these guys on ESPN, that's all they do is just put all these kids down. Like I didn't really,
And their children.
Yeah.
I love how he said you disrespected my mama's son.
Oh, I love.
And you
I
got to
love
think
that.
about it like that. That is somebody's child up there. You're sitting there bad mouthing. And
Yeah.
he's not a man yet. He's going through school, and the mindset of an athlete is much more immature than most people, because they're stuck in a athlete box. They don't get to experience a lot of
This
other
guy,
things.
yeah, I've been doing a little research. He comes from that Gucci, that old North Carolina, South Carolina.
Yeah.
What do they call it, man? For the Gili. I don't know. It's that culture. It's like a culture that's disappearing, man. They Guligichi. See, I put it up. That's why he's always saying that stuff.
But yeah, he's got a thick accent for sure. My wife was like, "Where's he from? Tennessee?" I was like, "Nah, I think it's South Carolina, North Carolina, somewhere like that." But he's got a place in Brunswick, Georgia now, like a bunch of land, and he's building a community center out there, and he's trying to get other people to build these community centers for the communities where people have an outlet and place to go. I think it's
Gula culture. I just found it. Sorry.
Here, let me go to. Let me share his channel real quick, just so everybody can see.
Yeah, man. Big shout out to Kwame Brown.
Yeah, I want people to go to
out.
his channel. I was gonna download some mirrors and share them, but I want people to go to his channel and subscribe to his channel.
Kwame Brown Bus Life, is it?
Kwame Brown Bus Life. This is his channel. I've watched a lot of his videos. He's talking about some real things.
Man. Good content.
A lot of it all started from drama between him and Charlemagne the God, which I've always found absolutely disgusting. The first time I really listened to Charlemagne the God, he was telling a story about how him and his buddy were having a threesome with a chick, and how she was giving him head, and then she got up and he started making out with her. And I was like, that's an awful story. Like, why would you tell somebody that you're like doing that? And then I started knowing who he was because I followed Andrew Schultz, a stand-up comedian. I like Andrew Schultz, so I kind of got introduced to Charlemagne that way. And I just always thought he was a trifling, disgusting type person.
Well,
and
that whole Breakfast Club are nothing but status quo fucking dick putters. That's what we call them. They're puppets, man. They're puppets. Man, remember Charlene had a talk with Biden not so long ago, a few months back.
Yeah.
They did that live.
Oh, you ain't black. Yeah, if you don't vote for him, right?
What the fuck's that guy doing? What are you doing? Since when the fuck do rappers or whatever. You know that since when does that culture mix with fucking politicians, man?
You know, I always
It-
think of his name as like charlatan.
Yeah, that's a good one, man.
Yeah, he's a
Charlatan
charlatan.
the God. That's a good meme right there, bro.
Well, I don't respect anybody that calls himself the God. That's
Yeah, I think that's fucking egocentric as fuck.
so
But
disrespectful.
back to Kwame, he's taking some knowledge and he's waking up a bunch of people to the fact that because what he's saying about what these guys do on that program and why they constantly do that and what it's about, you could find the same similarities. For example,
Well,
like
before they want that prototypical black guy. They don't want the Carmelo
right,
Anthony's, the Iversons,
for sure.
they,
But I'm
the real
sorry.
they want the ones that talk a certain way, fit in a certain box, fit a certain class, and they want the dog to talk and walk and act a certain way. And if you don't,
And most people,
they
they don't want
cut
role
you.
models. They don't want role models. They don't want them to have role models. Listen, they did the same thing with rap. That's what I was gonna say. Same thing with rap. When I was young, we used to have conscience rap. You remember, groups like Arrested Development
Yeah.
or
Like
a bunch of different
Common.
rap. Yeah, they got rid of all that because that was positive influence on ghetto or on on that culture that today is so warped. It's totally opposite, you know.
Yeah, remember when Eminem was shedding light on like domestic abuse and home violence, and they tried to go after him when he was like, blame the parents.
You mean before
Yeah.
they cloned him?
Before they cloned him. Yeah.
Before they got rid of him and cloned him?
But everybody starts preaching that positive stuff that they get you. Bob Marley. Yeah.
Tupac too. There was two sides. There was Tupac. There was two different Tupacs in his career. There was the Tupac who wrote "Dear Mama" and those songs from back in that time, and then there was that whole gangster rap.
I do think they've cloned people though. I think old Gucci and new Gucci are not the same people. I do not.
What do you think about clone? Let's get into that one, man. What do you think about the clone game? What's up with the clone game? Is it real?
I think so. Have you ever seen Multiplicity? I think that
Is that a movie? I haven't seen a movie in ages, but I think it's real
it's
too.
an old
I
Michael
don't know.
Keaton movie where he's stressed out. He's working. He's a construction worker, and he's a foreman of a huge building. It's Michael Keaton, Batman, whatever. And the guy comes up to him, and he's right next to a clone building. He's like, "What is this?" And he's like, "How would you like an opportunity of a lifetime where we clone you, and then your clone just works for you, and then you go spend your life with your wife?" And
Right.
then he makes a outhouse for the clone, and then the clone lives back there, but the clone can't run into the wife at the same time.
Yeah, I remember this movie. He ends up making.
But then the
loads of-
clone made a clone, and he ended up being gay. Like,
Yeah, there's a bunch. There's like fucking 10 of them at the end. By the end of the movie, there's loads of them.
It's one of the most classic movies I've ever seen. I think people should go see it, even if you're against cloning. I think it's an entertaining movie, and it's old. It's a movie about cloning, right, 20 years ago, right?
Have you seen it? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's from, like we were saying last time. One day we were talking about how they don't make movies like that anymore. That's one of those type of movies.
It's
that are written
storyline
like that.
driven. Yeah.
Yeah, the storylines are amazing. That's a well-written movie, man. Whoever wrote that was smoking some good weed, I think.
Yeah. So let's see. What else was Kwame Brown talking about that you liked? Let's see.
Well, lately, I just heard a lot of the drama stuff and how he's calling, the Becky with the good hair, all this.
Oh, the
rhetoric.
names, the names with Kwame Brown were.
He's got some good lingo, man. I was gonna say he comes from that Gula. It's called Gula. African Americans who lived in the Low Country region of the U.S. states of Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, both the coastal plain and the Sea Islands. Anyways, I found out. I heard the other day that he comes from this.
That's
from
kind
this
of funny.
background,
My dad,
his ancestry.
when my real father, he's 70 years old. He passed away, but he's real Creole, Cajun, and
That kind of background. There you go.
Kunas. Like he's real dark, Native American, and he would always say goulash. Like whenever you heat something out,
The food goulash. Yeah, the
yeah,
goulash.
you just take whatever out the refrigerator and heat it up, mix it
Get it all
together.
together. That's
Yeah.
goulash.
Goulash.
We used to eat that in the joint.
Yeah.
Goulash, man.
So my dad
Hey,
would
but-
make me goulash all the time.
Yeah, man, that's why he's got that strong demeanor, man. That's why he was raised by his mama. He says it, but he was raised by his mama strong.
They probably could sense that at the beginning, and that's why they started.
That mama's cooking. Woo! I love it when he does that.
What I'm saying is, I think they probably sensed that he was a right winger, kind of with a lot of like alternate mainstream beliefs from the beginning.
Now, yeah, I'm kind of seeing it now. This guy must have been smart though, huh? When he was 18 and he was going through all that, I don't know if you've heard him mention a few times when he's like, "Man, I wasn't stupid. I stayed quiet all this time because these people had them hands in my pocket still. I wanted to make sure Mama had her house. I wanted to make sure I paid the mortgage. Now I talk," he says. I'm like, "Oh man, this kid, he took a beating." Because now I found out, I went back into the story when you told me who he was, and seeing what happened with Jordan and how they dissed him all the time.
Mhm.
Man, this guy just got his ass chewed out for 20 years on TV, man.
That's
And
the great thing about it.
he didn't say nothing, man. He was smarter than all of them. Turns out he was smarter than all of them. Yeah, it's a good thing. I'm glad he's trending, but they're trying to hold him down. They're trying to keep him censored. If it wasn't for you telling me, it would have never come across my channel.
Yeah, I don't know why I even clicked on it. I was like, Kwame Brown, what's going on with him? I was just like, I was bored, I guess, one day. I just clicked on it. But I was kind of
I
mind
would
blown.
say I would argue that the information gods were doing their thing, making sure the information got to
It's
you.
one of the main things we were talking about not too long ago, that the black community is lacking a lot of black role models, mainly because the propaganda machine works against it, and they don't allow real good black role models. And I think it was one of the Floyd Mayweather Jake Paul situation where they get in a fight over the hat. I thought that was a really bad look for black males.
As well.
Mayweather should have acted like a king right there. Got his crew to take his hat back from him, and
just keep the hat. I got another one.
Yeah. I think the materialism and that they push, that's kind of part of it, where you overreact and get emotional.
Going back to the same thing they did with rap. They've been doing this for a while. It's not like this. It's not just now. They've been doing this to the minority communities, not just the black, I would say, in the States. I think they've been doing this for a while, man. You know, getting rid of those possible would-be strong role models, as you say. You know,
alpha males.
It's design. Wouldn't you agree? It's by design, man. And it's happening in white communities too, man. Right now, it's not just happening in the black communities.
It's an attack on like the family, the family structure.
It's exactly.
And God.
Right now, as I say,
it's mainly God and the family structure is where they're mainly attacking us.
I totally agree. They're attacking masculinity in general. You know, look what they're saying now. They're trying to push this race theory on everybody. You know, critical race theory. Now the white man is somehow to blame for everything. He doesn't even know. He doesn't know he's guilty. He doesn't feel guilty because he doesn't know that he's a freaking racist. What the fuck? This is the most racist shit I've ever heard. This is more racist than back in the 60s in the States. What's going on? But they're pushing this, you know, in universities. It's scary. They're pushing this in our universities. It's starting to be here the same thing. They're trying to do the same thing here, especially in Catalonia, in this province. It would be like a state, but it's more like a province over here. The community is crazy. Agenda 2030, they're pushing it. The progressive agenda here where I'm at. We're thinking about leaving here and maybe going to Madrid. There was elections not so long ago, and the party that's like the globalist agenda, the ones that are pushing hard the globalist agenda, just got voted the hell out of Madrid. So Madrid, they're like over here in school. If I was to stay here in Barcelona, definitely got to start looking up homeschooling options, because if I was to send them to school here, there's not a school in this whole state where there's not going to be gender education, you know, at the age of 5. That's like mandatory now here. So the only way I can opt out of that is by either sending them to a private school, like a Catholic school or something, where I would have to probably pay a lot of money, which we wouldn't be able to afford, especially now that there's only one working really out of both of us. So, and the other one will be leaving this place, leaving to Madrid, where Madrid, like you can tell now, it's kind of like not Texas, but the governor of Madrid is totally against. It's more with keeping the family unit, let's say, you know, that whole Marxist kind of BLM rhetoric. Over here, there's no BLM, but there's, you know, the feminist movement. You still got LGBT, and it's the same thing. They're pushing for. That's how you can tell it's an international attack on our culture, you know, and the Western values and stuff, because they're trying to play it out everywhere. It's not just in the States. It's not just inside the States.
I don't really have a problem with the LGBT community. The problem I have with it is the whole sexualizing children and pushing it onto children. Like, I'm okay
Same
with
here.
people being whoever they want to be.
Of
Like,
course not.
you're an
Of course
adult,
not.
you can be whoever you want. Just don't teach children that stuff. Like,
Yeah, way to clear that up. Clear that up, because the only reason why I bring them up is only because we're talking already, kind of like we already know what's behind that. I would say all these movements always start out originally with good intentions, and they've
mhm.
all been hijacked by
What's that
global
saying?
agendas.
It's the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I think.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So.
Yeah, because over here too, I mean, the party over here, the political party that ends up pushing the progressive, when it started out grassroots, and everybody got behind it because it seemed to be representing the people, like the people, and it turned out it wasn't. It only but 6 years had to go by, and this had to happen for people some of them start waking up that they got deceived. I'm sure you see a lot of that in the States as well. A lot of people, I don't know, people are finding out. People who voted for Biden, you would think the majority should be realizing right now the big mistake they made. But the fact is that a lot of people, for whatever reason they might be, because they're fanatics or because they just want to, for the tribe or what have you, or they don't want to see the truth, they're still not seeing it. They still won't admit it to themselves. And
Well, they're seeing all the topical stuff. Oh, he did this, he did that, he did this, he's telling us to do this. Oh, he's the one that stopped COVID. He's the one that did this.
And the media is not talking about anything. I mean, the same media that used to.
They created all the problems during the Trump administration.
Oh, for
sure. Now Biden's going to be the one that cures them all.
They'll say this is a good one. I like that one. They said, people tell me Trump was he was a guy who caused a lot of division, and I always win that argument fast and easy by saying no. The bipolarity was caused by the media. Mm-hmm. That's who made everybody fight with a bunch of disinformation about it. I mean, anyone who's to do the proper due diligence and do the proper research.
And in my opinion, I don't think there is a huge bipolarity. I think that most of the country supports Trump.
I think so, too.
I think it's kind of like this.
It's in the media. It's in the media. They'll have us think. They'll have us believe that everyone is behind, this woke movement or agenda or this progressive ideology. Same thing here. I find the same thing here. Like, if you look at the media or you look at, and that's why I get pissed off with a lot of people here that I know that they've jumped on the bandwagon. They've jumped on these bandwagons, and they'll post stuff on Facebook, people I know in real life. And I'm like, they claim to be anti-fascist, and they have no idea that they're actually supporting one of the most fascist agendas that is about to be trying to be rolled out on humanity as we speak. And they're backing it up. But they swear they're on the right side of history. Like, now I can see, if we ever thought before, how did Hitler or supposed tyrants that we've been told throughout history, how did they get to power with the whole country behind them? I can see it now. Now I can see it. It's not that. It wasn't that. You just have to have the mass media controlling the information. If people believe that they're fighting fascism while they're helping roll out, this new.
So a couple of people had showed me some things on Facebook where, like, all these fascist things were done while Trump was president, and I was looking at it objectively, and I was like, they're right. It was a long list of things, but I was also thinking about it objectively, like, he's not responsible for a lot of this. A lot of things in America happen on a secular, smaller level. The president is not the end-all, be-all in our country. He doesn't have this power. A lot of people don't realize that. They don't realize
God is like that.
Yeah.
It's written that way. But what were the things? What were the things that were fascist? Like a lot of executive orders and stuff?
Not so much executive orders. A lot of things weren't him per se, but they happened under his administration.
Well, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He allowed it because he was president, kind of situation.
No, that's how it works.
Right.
I say they should pay attention to the things that didn't happen, like the wars that didn't happen under his administration, like the highest percentage of employment in the minorities. That happened also. There wasn't, bad case of unemployment. The economy.
Well, as you were talking about the ethnic group, I think the black community really supports Donald Trump, and even more so after the election. When you pay attention to Kwame Brown's comment section and his live feeds, you sense a lot of black support for Trump and the right-wing things he's talking about. And you're talking about chat rooms that get about 30%. No, he's not a Republican, Kwame Brown, but he did say he's an independent, and he votes for policy. And he's urging people to read policies and to start at a low level, at your own community's level, and know those politicians and fight for your community, because that's where you're going to make change.
Damn, Kwame speaks some truth right there, man.
Yeah, so
I hope nuances are listening to what he's got
he
to say.
even had my mind like churning and turning, and I was learning a lot from him. And
Yeah,
so
same
I
here,
felt
man.
I know a lot of my robot inside is a lot of laziness and ignorance, where I just choose not to do the research and learn to, because I know in America we can accomplish anything here, and so I just choose to be lazy, I guess, and scrape by with a minimum at times. It is a pretty good life we live here, so.
Well, at least you're aware of it. Some
Yeah,
people don't know how good they have it.
it's great. Great
Well,
life.
maybe that's why you're not so ambitious.
I am
You know, to
ambitious.
try to read
It's-
this stuff. No, but I mean, as practice looking up information, or you try to do it by yourself.
mhm. That's what I was saying about the whole Kwame Brown situation. I've seen a lot of YouTube channels pop up trying to pull the attention from his channel to their channel, and I just want people to go to his channel and do their own research. He's speaking a lot of facts. You know, you can donate to him directly. Don't buy the jerseys, he said, because merchandise doesn't go to him. You know, I'm always into supporting like business owners, entrepreneurs, and that goes to them, not Black Lives Matter, where it goes to white political leaders. You know, so
What was it ending up? Like donations last
went to Biden administration.
Yeah.
So.
The Biden's campaign, I remember.
Mhm.
I remember that.
So, you know, support your local businesses, I would say. You know, if you want to do it that way, that would be my best suggestion.
Let me ask you a question. Have you noticed anything off topic now, changing a bit here? But I wanted to ask you, are prices going up?
Oh
Where
my
you at?
God, I've noticed that too. A little bit everywhere, everything. The lumber here
A
is
little bit, a little bit.
here is really high.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. Like when I go to the supermarket, the bottom line is like I'm bringing the same amount of stuff home, and it's going up. It's going up.
Yeah, the price tags have
Fast.
definitely went up.
That's messed up. That's
Yeah.
messed up. Do you think there's going to be any chance of hyperinflation coming up?
Well, I've
The next-
noticed the minimum wage has also gone up around here. Like, they haven't legally raised it federally, but I've noticed just everybody's hiring at like $4 or $5 more per hour. Like,
Well, they got to compete with that stimulus check
Yeah.
that everyone's getting now. That's like what, 1,500 or something like that.
I
a
think
month?
people are getting like $300 a month. It's at the minimum. Some people. So.
I've heard a lot of people, my sister included, who's over there, who's claiming to me to have more money in the bank right now than she's ever had while she was working,
That's
and she hasn't worked. Yeah, well, they're doing that on purpose. They're trying to crash. I tried to explain to her. She's like, yeah, whatever. I don't give a fuck. Like I've worked my ass off all my life, and I've never been able to save up. Now I'm not working, and they're throwing money in my face. I'm like, yeah, well, it's not real money anyways, but I try to tell her to get some crypto. I said, get crypto.
I've been wanting to do some investing. I've been wanting to. The UFC just went as a public company live, and I wanted to invest in the endeavor because, just like
Started off at 24. Where's it up by now?
where at
Bit higher. It started off at $24.
yeah, 24.
a share?
I haven't looked at it in a little bit, but
Let me pull that up. See if we,
I do think fighting
Like
is just like modern Rome. It's gonna be the biggest sport in the world before too long, because it's a sport that's in every country, unlike soccer where it's not here in the United States that much, or you have certain sports that aren't transcendent to all countries. So, and I think
you can buy UFC shares with cryptocurrency apparently as well now.
sweet.
Yeah, it's a matter of just I would say Yeah, it's a matter of just trading in, not having. Whenever they pull the curtain down, it's going to be better off having crypto or UFC shares than having dollars or euros.
Yeah, yeah. I wish I would have learned about money. It's another thing Kwame Brown was talking about is
They don't,
learning about
teach us. They don't
money.
teach us.
They don't teach us anything. They
They
want
don't teach us
you.
all.
I had this idea one day that they basically breed Americans for the Hunger Games foreigners to come in and live their glorious little business lives, and we like getting out of high school. Oh, I'll go work at fucking McDonald's, I guess.
Battery packs, man. We're like huge battery packs.
Yeah.
City, the presence of cities living in the sky. Everybody's on top of each other. If you take a step back and look at the bigger picture of how they went doing it little by little with the senators, they did the same thing in South America. Like just recently, I had to go back and do a little research of how Argentina came to be and how South America all came to be because I wanted to learn where was it, at what point in history was it that the government was infiltrated there by the globalists or by the Masons, you know? And I had to come to terms with the fact that it was started by the Masons. It wasn't even like they infiltrated that republic, South America. I think after I learned the history and learning it, how they teach it, and always reading between the lines from all the information I know, and you can tell that it was already like when they start talking about the history about the first revolutions before it became a republic. There was already people from Europe there that were owning lands. So they don't even mention the indigenous people that were there before to start off with. And then, so when I look at all the South America and American region, I came to the conclusion that the only place that was really able to free themselves from the colonialists was USA. South America never really freed up. Like some countries in Central America, not Mexico, further down Central and Northern South America they were just let be whatever the hell they wanted, and they were taken from by them. You still have right now to today, you have islands off of Colombia that belong to Holland and to France. Even today, it's still their territory. They were like saying, okay, you know what? Kept revolting. They said, look, just give them a. It's the same thing. Like everybody has the same thing. Everybody has a national anthem, a freaking flag, and history is almost the same thing in South America. Everybody has the same thing. The process. But if you look into it, they were all made from the get-go. They all have to do with the bloodlines that came from Europe with the 13 families from the beginning. So then you can go down the list. All presidents were different. It wasn't like the state. That's why in the States they killed Kennedy. Then they tried killing Reagan. And after that, that's it. Everybody played ball. Everybody played ball. Back in the day with the list. But Kennedy tried to change it and got killed for it. Reagan was fucking around too with it and got shot twice for it. And they played ball. But looking back, so anyways, I drifted away from my original, whatever the original point was. But yeah, they've been at it for a long time. But the States, to me, was the only one who actually the forefathers, they actually did get rid of it. They actually did get started. That's why they armed their people from the get-go. You see, no other constitution in South or Central America ever allowed their people to have guns. Never. So that's an indicator that it was still these people under control. They were just giving them a government like you guys have today, a Biden government. We've just had Biden governments after Biden governments after Biden governments in these countries. Anyone who's ever tried to do something for real got outed, which I would say one would be Irigoyen in Argentina, another would be Perón. Perón got his hands cut off after he was already dead because this guy, he called himself the third power. So the way I see it, he didn't want to mess with the Masons he didn't want to do business with the Masons from Europe, and he didn't want to do business with the Rothschilds. He tried to do his own thing. Argentina was strong. This was in the early 70s. This is when we had to leave. Dictatorship broke out, and that's when we migrated to Argentina because they were killing people in the streets in Argentina. Then later on, this guy dies. He dies of natural causes. But he was trying to pose himself up against the globalists, too. He was an asshole with our people as well. He indoctrinated them and abused them. But they cut his hands off after he was already dead. And to me, this was like a message to the following presidents that were coming in Argentina. Don't try that shit again. You don't mess with these people. And these people somehow managed to later on infiltrate the White House, man. To me, I think Bush's, Clinton's, all these people until Trump came down, it didn't matter if you voted left or right. I used to think the vote was rigged. And now I understood after Trump shed light on this. It wasn't that the vote was rigged, it's that both parties were already part of the swamp. So it didn't matter who came in. If Clinton came in, all right, doesn't matter. He's gonna play ball. The wars didn't stop. None of those agendas stopped. Didn't matter if you had Democrats or you had Republicans. Anyways, yeah, I went on a little rant.
That was my favorite thing about Trump was there was no wars, and that's why I was gonna vote for Ron Paul, but they didn't allow him to get any playtime or anything, you know.
That's another guy, Ron Paul, who's been spitting truth for many a year.
Yep.
Many a year.
Preached against the war machine, you know. And I've joined the military a couple times, and I do believe in freedom and a sense of self-defense and national security. But the amount of offense that America does is just too much for my liking. So.
Well, this is the conclusion I came to with that. I've always had a problem with the military-industrial complex. Always. But today I see it differently. Today we're all learning. Not. I don't see the the military-industrial complex differently. I see the idea of fighting for freedom. It wasn't fighting for freedom when you had the globalist agendas and all these globalist-backed presidents instructing the military to be at war all the time. That's why Trump, to me, that's like one of the things that I didn't know was going on during his mandate. I didn't know. I thought he was part of the club as well. I wasn't paying attention to what was going on there. And it was only after all this stuff started happening that I went back and I realized he hadn't started any new war at all whatsoever, and how that could have pissed off these globalists off a lot. But I was going to say, the conclusion I came to is like when this was going on, when the United States has been going to war after war, they've been going to war for, I don't know, like 20 years now. And there was a time before that they had done like another 20-year, before Reagan, they had done another thing. But these presidents, these guys were all working for the elite, for the global banking system. They weren't working for the best interest of the American people. They never were. So it's a shame that all these young men who went into military for whatever reason, like the military is there to defend the country, not to be offensive all over these countries where the globalist agendas wanted to be. But unfortunately, these presidents, they weren't working for the American people. You could see it now clearly. A bunch of these guys, they just weren't working for the best interest, and we couldn't see it before. And America's always been a place where entertainment reigned, and television sets always, the center of attention for families at a time.
Yeah, that's what I feel like America's turned into today, is like an episode of Black Mirror where corporatism runs it, and likes, shares, and popularity, and the narrative is controlled through algorithms and shadow banning and just pushing it constantly over and over again on the TV. They're slowly losing the people, but there's always going to be channels that pop up and try to steal thunder or like distract. Just like with the flat Earth movement, it hit at a perfect time and it was still controlled almost instantly. Yeah.
So, I say it hit at that time because it was orchestrated to come out when it did. It was around the same time when the P900 was being bought by a bunch of people.
I got it.
Yeah. Well, it was right before then. It was like right before the public was going to have the technology to zoom in into the boats, to zoom in into the moon, where you couldn't zoom into a building that was, I don't know how far away.
Yeah, I can zoom in on objects in space,
the sky,
and
but you can't zoom in onto the next city. Like, what's going on? So, right before that technology became accessible to the masses, the flat Earth control with the fake map and with all the bullshit to be able to mock it. Yeah, and that's when it came out.
That's when
That's a great
that's
great
how I
tactic.
realized it was fake. Cause I tried to show it to a lot of people because I was really excited about flat Earth when how you first find out about it and you're like,
Yeah. It was
yeah,
amazing.
it's like almost like finding I've been baptized twice in my life and it felt like I was being baptized again. Like
Wow.
it was a very spiritual moment in my life.
That's the
Actually.
coolest. It was. I would say the saved, not baptized, but spiritual. It was spiritual to me, and it was like, by far, it was out of all the little stages of little, wake up moments that one has in this journey where you're, navigating through this truth community.
Right.
This was by far the biggest wake up of all. This is by far, and it made you feel love. It made you feel joy. All of a sudden, like you realize that there is a creator. Like it wasn't, because to me, at least me personal, my experience, I grew up Catholic. I went to Catholic school, but then what happens, what I think Catholic school is designed for is to make you atheist. Right. I think the church, the Vatican, like the way it's taught to us, is to make you atheist. It's to lead you away, actually, and that's what it does to most everybody.
The
It takes you
literalism,
away.
the religious literalism, the dogma always.
Exactly, it takes you away. And then flat Earth, but then after I went away, after I became this atheist, then I learned what an agnostic was, the definition. So I started saying I was agnostic.
Well, see, I never believed in evolution. Say, even though I was going atheist, and I was being driven by like monkey science, I never believed I was a monkey. I never bought into that.
I don't even remember if I had bought into that or not.
Yeah.
But I was definitely away. I was going to say flat Earth. During the time where I was supposedly this atheist, I still prayed. I still prayed differently. I still had this connection with something. Like I was still spiritual all those years. Because let's say, I can't remember exactly, but let's say I went atheist around 15 years of age or 16. Well, no, maybe a bit older, 20 something, early 20s. I started being like, more scientific. When you're like, I'm more scientific, the dogma, religion, come on, that book, you can't prove nothing, it was written by men. And all that stuff that everybody says, right?
What's the famous line? Well, where did you get that information from?
But all those years anyways, I still felt this connection with something. When things went bad or when I was in a tough spot, I still prayed. So I was always connected. So when flat Earth came around, that's what I felt like. It was spiritual in that sense. It was like, then I was right. It was like these people tricked me into getting away from you, but I was still inside, kind of like I felt you the whole time there. And now flat Earth was like, all right.
Yeah, but then like you get online and you start involving yourself with the psyop, and every group in conversation where you're talking to a low believer has like all these toxic people that jump in on it, and then it becomes this swarm of negative energy.
What happened to you, maybe this happened to you as well. The thing is that we were already, at least me, I was already coming off the engineers, architects and engineers psyop for 9/11 Truth. And I was able to recognize patterns that were exactly the same. When you question certain things, you would have like groups of people attack you all of a sudden. Same thing would happen with the 9/11 Truth, which had happened earlier. So you could start seeing that stuff. And then that's how I think we met up. We met through with the flat Earth, but then we started seeing in those arguments and stuff, you could start seeing exactly already who were the ones that were like so hung up on pushing that narrative and not leaving, not staying, not being able to question that narrative. And then you, for example, one of the first ones that started questioning those narratives. You're the one I started realizing why the luminaries were personal. Like I kind of had something, but it was like that one video you did with the observations of the moon. I had thought something similar. I had thought the not that we all observer, but that we all shared kind of like this connection, like this what do you call this, man? When you see these things that are projected, what do you call it again? This happens when you speak Spanish all day and you try to speak.
I don't know.
You call it, the thing like you take a little pot
a projection, out. Yeah, like a.
Yeah, but there's a thing that like Michael Jackson did a concert this way, even though he's dead.
I know what you're talking about, like the little Star Where the Princess Leia comes up and
with this projection, right? So I thought it was something like that. They weren't physically there, but that we were all connected somehow consciously through it. And then when you started talking about the luminaries, the way you observed them, I was like, oh, this makes perfect sense to me. It was like, this makes sense. It was kind of like that, but then, yeah, that would make perfect sense of why you take your moon that way and I take my moon this way. The best one so far that you've done has been the one with the clouds. I can't wait to sit down with my buddy Steve and explain this one to him.
Which one?
The one where we have to get this real flat surface with a good.
Oh, and drive towards each other or away from each other.
Full moon, puffy clouds at night. Have lasers. We can point at each other.
Oh yeah.
Have cameras where we can film.
Oh,
each other.
Oh yeah. Okay, where the
so
clouds.
we're seeing the moon. Yeah. We're seeing the moon lighting up the cloud that's right in front of you. Mm-hmm. But the other person's over there, they're way off in the distance, and he's watching his cloud being lit up right in front of him, and only that cloud, where the other one's dark. But he can see your cloud, it's dark, the one you're seeing lit, and you can see his cloud, dark, but he's seeing lit. So that one's a good one to try to explain away.
Yeah, to me, my observations are something that we all experience, so you can't deny them. And then I have so many at close and far proximity where I can explain it in multiple ways with the sun, moon, and stars. So it's when people will always try to explain away one observation, and I'm like, whoa, hold on, I got more. Like, there's more where that came from. Because they'll say something at far proximity. Well, what about this? Well, that's because of, all right, well, then I'll be like, well, what about at 4,000 miles, it's dark outside, but there's places 4,000 miles apart where they share a local sun, a noon sun, right? Like, so if it's supposed to be an equal sphere, then that should never, ever happen. Like, so.
And the A map also couldn't happen.
Nope. But, yeah, the personal luminaries thing, I don't know how that hasn't blown up. And my thing is, I don't even want all the credit for it. Like, I don't even see other channels really blowing up over it. Yeah, and
it makes what I find amazing, and not so much now. To me, it used to boggle my mind a little bit, but after the whole situation we're living through with this pandemic, and watching how so many people are fine to go along with whatever the narrative is, then I can see how it can happen within the flat Earth community, where so many people found the flat Earth information with the fake A map and the fake model and the dome and all this surrounding wall and whatnot, and that's it. They were just so able to just plant the flag there and call it home forever. It's
but
like,
then you have the other people that were pretty smart that had just a couple questions that debunked it and then went back to the globe. I think that's the problem with the flat Earth. It either sends people right back to the globe or to a lie. The flat Earth map, right? Yeah. So, I don't know.
How can you go back to the globe? That's crazy, though. I wouldn't go back to the globe. How can you go back to the
globe?
globe?
But I'm saying if you were questioning reality and then you were shown this pizza pie map with the ice wall, and then you were like, yeah, that's my friend. My friend had never researched flat Earth at all. Never looked at it, not once. And I said, have you looked into flat Earth? He was actually pretty open-minded about it. I mean, we don't really talk too much anymore because he kind of insulted me. I kept going with it. I kept researching, but he said, well, what happens if you head true east? And I was like, he's like, a straight line is true east. People would have known they would have hit an ice wall. A lot of people travel east and they never hit an ice wall. If you head true east on any of these maps, you're hitting an ice wall. Like, and I was like, that's a pretty simple.
I used to think at the beginning it had something to do with the way they navigated by using what do they use to navigate? They would use they would have to use the North Pole, the stars, and the North Pole. Yeah, with the stars.
And the southern stars have a completely different constellation that rotate around the southern crux, around the other, and then between the tropics, they're a straight line. They don't bend at all. They're completely linear. They come to and away from you. Just like the sun does during the equinox for you, like it comes to and away from you, right? So here I can screen share like what happens. My opinion of what the sun does, right? Okay. Okay. So during summer solstice, the sun, say you'll be facing east, right? Staring this way.
Remember, I got a delay.
You got an 8-second delay, I got you. You'll be facing east this way. And the sun will rise in the summertime like this. And then it'll come at noon. And then it'll go back above you. And the moon does the exact opposite. Summertime, it'll be down here. And it has a slightly greater curve at the rise and set than the sun does. The sun's more gradual, or the moon has a hook to it. But if you face directly east during the equinox, it rises directly east, equal to me. So the equinox just means equal to me. Like, so I'm hearing some kind of breathing.
Me, maybe.
Okay, but yeah, that's pretty much what I think happens with the rotation of the sun, moon, and stars.
How did you come across flat Earth?
How did I come across it? Very interesting that you would ask me that. I had given up on conspiracies for a long time. My son had died. I left the community. I stopped posting. I was just trying to get my life together, you know. And it was my birthday. My father-in-law,
What year?
who's passed
2015? 2015? 2014?
5 years ago? 15? Something like that. But he had asked me about it.
It had to be 15 because we were already talking in 2015.
15. So I had talked to my father-in-law about it, and he had asked me about it, and I said, I've never looked at it. I've seen a couple links on YouTube. So it was a week later, and I was sitting down, bored, got done playing my computer game, and I was on YouTube. You know, they had the suggested videos back in the day, right next to your videos. And I was like, flat Earth. Clicked on it. Literally 5 minutes later, I was like, Earth's flat. I'm like, holy shit, Earth's flat. Like, how's that?
So you went, as soon as you saw it, you went to look at it.
Yeah, but I knew I had all these things that came back to my mind over my lifetime. That my mind was like, holy shit, I've been lied to. Helicopters. That helicopters immediately came into my mind. Like, how do they float there? And I asked my teacher that as a child. We had a field day where the 7-Eleven news team came, and a handful of kids got to ride up for a minute and float back down.
Yeah, I remember those.
But for a minute, the helicopter just stayed there and floated for like 20 minutes. And I turned and tugged on the teacher and was like, if the Earth's rotating, how is it just floating there? Because we were just learning about it.
Well, the atmosphere is all stuck, Preston. Didn't you go to school?
Yeah.
Bro, don't use science.
And the teacher, I remember this to this day, kind of just looked at me like, I don't know the answer to that, and then kept going, you know, like, I don't know, and just kind of not answered me, and then, so,
it was cool. It was cool to go down that rabbit hole, but it's a shame that it was always just so controlled.
So, but I've also told you that my aunt, my whole,
I told you about it, right?
My whole mom's side, which my grandmother was from a Native American tribe, and her tribe was flat earthers.
Right.
And when I came out to my wife about it, my aunt about 4 years ago, and she was like, "Oh, I've always known that. My mama told me that. And she acted like nothing about it.
But that's because they weren't civilized, Preston. These guys didn't know. They didn't know. They didn't have the technology.
Well,
but they built stuff that today nobody knows how to build.
But she was like, I've always known the Earth is flat, and it just blew me away that she didn't even care. And I was like, why didn't you tell me? And she was like, well, you just can't tell people that. They have to find it on their own. If you force it to them, they'll just call you stupid. And she was like, I don't share it with people because she said people are dumb, like straight up, like they'll never believe you.
They won't get it.
So
I think any reasonable person, anybody smart and does the proper research on it, comes to the conclusion that he doesn't have any idea where he's at least.
Mm-hmm.
And then try to figure it out like you and make the observations. But at least minimum, somebody who could really critically think, once you start looking at it, all of it, and start questioning the globe, of course, and start debunking the globe, then you realize that you don't know. There's no way you could know. But you know that you're not on that sphere that they've
Yeah,
told you all your life.
that's
You're not
my
on
thing.
that.
I know the Earth isn't flat. I would say that our surface in total is relatively a flat surface. Now,
Right.
because you get those people that say nothing in science is perfectly flat. Like,
Yeah, of course. No, well, it has peaks and valleys. It has all kinds of stuff.
what I like to say is there's terrain on the plane. So,
There you go. Well, there's places where it's flat for a long time.
I
Like
got that
in
meme on my computer actually. The 10
in the
flattest
Peru,
places.
in the Peruvian salts, and all these places in South America, man, you got a long areas where there's no curvature whatsoever. The Peruvian flats, is it?
Hold on. Let me see if I can make this larger.
Salt flats. Salt. Can't screen share yet.
Oh, I got it.
Put Peruvian salt flats.
Yeah,
You
you got
seen
the Danakil, Ethiopia, Salar, Bolivia, Bonneville, Salt Flats, Utah, the Maldives, Siberia.
There's all over the place.
What do
The
you-
Peruvians are long and wide.
That's
I
not
forget
even
how
in the
many
top
miles.
10.
What's the biggest ones?
I just
Bolivia,
listed them
right?
here.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, then I have no idea what I'm talking about. I just knew about these.
Well, I mean, almost every plot of land has an extremely flat. That's what I was telling people. What do we live on, the Epcot Center or?
Where's the curve? Remember those videos? He used to make the video with the "Where's the curve?" What happened to that guy?
Show me the curve.
Show me the curve. That guy was fun, man. What happened to him?
I don't know. You know, I was watching Dill. You know Dill from Beyond the Curve. He does his podcast.
What's his face? The guy with the accent. Where's he?
The Australian,
Scottish guy.
the Scottish guy.
Scottish guy. He's
You know,
he's good, man. He's good.
I've started talking about my personal luminaries 2 or 3 times in his comment section, and he'll cut his feed off. He'll just act like the show's over, and that's it. And I always beg him to get me on. One time he said he was going to get me on, and he never did. So,
Oh man.
But I like
that
the
guy's
fact
pretty good, man. That guy's pretty good.
he sticks to curvature and no movement. And that's what I like about Dale from Beyond the Curve. But I wish he would give me an opportunity to speak about my
Well,
observations.
talk to him, man. Talk to him. Right.
I'm not spitting any mythical nonsense. It's
Well, why don't you
objective.
sit down and write a letter and tell him what you think? Just
Well,
say,
his
"Listen, this is
Facebook
how I
account's
see it."
closed now. It's no longer on there.
See if I'm sure he's got a contact somewhere, email, or maybe you can find some webpage. Maybe he has something you could look
Maybe
up
I
on
can
the
message
internet.
his YouTube channel.
Exactly, or something. Just write him. Just tell him your observations. Tell him, look, I've made these observations. Now it would suck if he doesn't invite you on. Then he starts talking about them as if they were his own. That would suck.
Well, I mean, long as the truth is getting out there, that's my like.
Well, then
so-
go for it, man.
But
Yeah, but it
I
was
just
still-
want people to know that they see their own sun, moon, and stars, and I think once you realize that the firmament in the sky is personal to you, that maybe the sky is alive, maybe
Or at
there's
least
more
open a debate, or at least open a debate with people, like a serious debate on it, without getting mad or anything. Just try to figure it out.
I've shut people's mouths that had no idea about flat Earth, that were completely brainwashed by mainstream science, that thought they could just debunk a conspiracy theorist almost instantly. And I had this happen a lot in the oil field, where they think they're talking to just an idiot, and then I start spouting off stuff that they can't argue with.
Right.
I'm like, why does the moon only illuminate nearby clouds? Why does it do that? Like, now it's doing that for somebody 50 miles that way, and 50 miles that way, and 50 miles that way.
Every which way.
Yeah, and it's right above them.
And the clouds, you can't argue the clouds. Everybody definitely has the clouds. We can go up to the clouds and touch them.
Yeah,
So
they're a
it's there.
physical thing. And that's another thing, is the firmament such a magical place where you can't touch the clouds. The light's not touching the clouds, but we're seeing it touch the clouds. How magical is that? To where that's not lit up to that person. Why is their cloud not lit up to me? Why is that not?
Yeah.
It's the wonder of
It's
this place still blows my mind, and I
It's
think
magical.
that's what allowed me to be able to see my observations.
You know, the fact that scientists, they want to have an explanation for everything as well, and there's things that are just unexplainable. Why can't you just deal with it? There's
Yeah.
things that are magical.
Well,
This
it's okay
realm
when
that
they call it a phenomena. It's not okay when we call it a
we call it
phenomena,
phenomenon. They're
because
the
ours
above
is
all.
God-based, theirs is atheist-based. So
Well, that's the big agenda. It's one of the biggest agendas. Is keep everybody in the dark about everything, about their own spirituality, about their possible where they come from, about politics, about any story, about Hunter Thompson. I mean Hunter Biden.
Hunter Thompson.
Yeah, no,
See, I just don't know what this place is, but I know it's not what we're told, and I know it's has a much more
Definitely not.
spiritual underlining to it than.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's a quite simulation. Something very close to it. It's definitely a creation. And that's,
Speaking of simulation and rounding back to Kwame Brown for a bit, he uses that term a lot, but I
he
like
said
how
simulation.
he uses it. Yeah, but I like how he uses it.
Mhm.
Check it out. I don't know if you've caught on. He doesn't use it, I think, the way you and I are used to hearing about simulation theory. He says that people have been taught a certain way. Like he gave many examples. One I can't remember all of them, but one of them was like he said we got taught through social media in the last decade and a bit more to like throughout the likes and the groups of people and the echo chambers and whatnot to only listen to the people we like, right? He says, for example, I'll tell a friend, oh, Candace Owens said this. Oh, I don't like Candace Owens. Fuck her. I don't want to hear anything she said. And, but listen, she said this. No, and they'll just refuse to hear it because they already don't like the person. They'll only give time to someone who they already like. So saying this, and saying this with a bunch of stuff, they've done that, and that's what it says. So you guys already live in a simulation. You guys already don't live in a real life. In a real life, you talk. Real men talk. You talk with people that don't see the way you do, and you listen to each other's opinions and each other's thoughts. You guys already don't. You live in a created simulation by man through intercepting your conscience, with social media, with YouTube, or with all this crap. And you guys live in a fake reality now. That's how I think he meant it, which is pretty clever if you ask me. I like the way he said it. He gave a bunch of examples as well, not just the one I just gave. He gave many, but like that one, like people have gotten taught. It's true. People have gotten taught. It's right. Everybody lives on YouTube. If on Facebook, like I don't have anyone no more on Facebook that'll debate anything I post. I won't have a bunch of likes, but I won't have I'll have the same people that agree, and that's it.
Well, just like
No one debates anything.
Before I started being divisive with Flat Earth, I was getting like 100, 200 likes, 250 likes on my memes, on things I was posting, and then I started questioning that AE map, and I debunked it, and I lost like thousands of people.
There you go, man.
Friends and.
Well, that's it right there, man. Because it's an echo chamber. It's cool to be part of a group. So if you're part of the fucking Flat Earth group, then it's all right. But if you question whatever information within any of it, then that's it. You're out. You're a fascist.
Yeah,
You're a Flat Earth fascist, dude. You're a Flat Earth fascist.
And I'm a square earther, and I've been a square earther since.
I like the square earth, man. Precator map, baby. Precator map.
Yeah, I just think we're always in the center of our own experience, kind of like Super Mario. And
yeah, kind of Penny. All these games, right? This first person.
Yeah, I like God's. Like we're creating our own reality of what God created. We're mimicking what our Creator's done. We're, like it says in the Bible, we're images of God, and so we're doing what God has done, but we're doing it in respect and honor. But we're doing it naturally, organically. Like we create the video games, we create like all the sciences that we use are sciences that God used to create this place. I wish we could figure out how to create one of them suns that He created, though. That's fucking amazing. Could you imagine if we could create our own little world like this, where you could create your own mini humans and put them in a little dome in a box, and Earth? Could you imagine that?
No, I can't.
Big cruelty to animals, probably.
That's some cool stuff, man. Yeah, a lot of people, man. So if you're watching this right now and you've never gone down that rabbit hole because it seemed dumb, Everybody at one point, any legit person with a brain at one point at any given moment thought it was a dumb idea to think that could be true. But
Just
if you
stick
go
to
down and
objective reality. Test and observe, repeat. Do you feel the
if
movement?
you
Do you
do
see a
that,
curve? That's the main point, I
it
think.
doesn't happen. Yeah. Your own reality, like all those things we used to think about it, were just things we were told and shown through images in books or movies or whatnot. But we've never seen none of it
Yeah, are you
with our own two eyes.
regurgitating? Are you regurgitating
I
things
used to
that you're
defend
hearing?
it. I used to
So,
defend it. I used to defend it all the
yeah.
time, and I thought I was smart because I learned how to repeat. I learned by memory. I used to be a fan of science, and I used to love that science.
Trust the
That's
science.
pseudoscience. I used to love that pseudoscience.
Trust the pseudoscience. That's what
But
we
now,
should
if I
start
have to
saying.
go with my observations and with the reality we actually live, how water actually behaves, the fact that there's no experiment you can show me that will show me water conform to the exterior of a shape, well, then that's it. The rest is like, well, it's kind of like we imagine it. Then you can't show it to me. Oh, I'm showing it to you because when we went to the moon, that's there's not even use arguing that. Been debunked. Oh well, look at a droplet of water. It's a droplet of water. It's a droplet of water. A big, huge piece of ball that you're telling me it is with all that amount of water weight. Yeah, well, the atmospheric pressure and whatnot. Yeah, all right, whatever, man.
They don't
That's
even know
already
what they're
sounds-
talking about.
Yeah, no. Wizard of Oz. I can tell you a little fairy tale too, and it sounds cool as hell. And if you want to believe it's real, it's real. And if you can even the day that I remember researching all the flat Earth stuff. Remember Brian Mullen?
Hmm.
You know Brian.
Wasn't he
Mullen?
like the
So-
mathematician or something?
yeah,
like
yeah.
that?
So one day I heard him talking in an interview, and he was explaining how if you worked at it, you can actually make a mathematician problem that'll work out a fairy tale. So these guys have a theory. They have the astrophysicists. They'll have a theory, and then they'll spend years on working a math problem into making that theory a reality. But when this guy explained that you could do that mathematically with a fairy tale, with a known fake fairy tale, like with Cinderella, if you work at it, you'll explain whatever magical thing through math. Right? It's hard, he said, but some people are smart enough to do it. That doesn't mean that your fake theory is real. Just because you figured it, you explained it with math. Math can be manipulated into fitting your theory. That day blew my mind. I was like, well, that's it. It's over then. Like, all these people saying that their theories are mathematically proven. Like, that used to mean something. All these scientists, well, it's mathematically, scientifically.
That's what I would always say to my oil field buddies. I'm like, can you show me these experiments? And can you still do them today? Like, you can do it then, right? Like, you should be able to come up with the tools that they were using, right?
Right, of course.
Copernicus, what was he using? A
I don't know, it
gyroscope?
was like a little stick. Yeah, a little stick with a foggy ass piece to the bottom of a glass bottle. That must have been hilarious, man. But still, these are all myths, I think.
We're going to measure the sun's shadow and then travel to the southern atmosphere to see if the shadow is the same.
The one with the sticks, who was the one with the sticks and the shadow of the sticks?
I don't remember, but
That was,
that's another
Greek
one of
one or
my
something?
personal luminaries explains that perfectly.
right.
The size of the shadows explains that perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. I've always
That's
wondered
what
that too. Why is my shadow so small on an object that's like so far away? Or like, why does it very seldom change as it rises and sets for me if it's so far away? Like
If
it
it's
should,
so far away, the shadow should be almost not there.
yeah. So
Either
I always
there
wondered
wouldn't
about
be
that. So
It's definitely not far, man. You can feel it in your skin.
yeah, and it gets so hot and cold from the distance it rises to you and sets to you. Like it's so drastic. Like that meme I shared in our WhatsApp group is like the sun's 93 million miles away. Now it's 92.3
Yeah,
miles.
right.
So, and you take a picture of it far away and close up.
Some good memes, man. There's some good memes that came out throughout the years. So what else is going on, man? What else is going on in the current events? Let me scroll down Twitter a bit, see if anything happened in the last couple of hours. Maybe a UFO landed somewhere. We don't know about it because we're talking about flat Earth.
All right. I can scroll through my Facebook, see what's going on in the Facebook realms.
Go for it. Whoa! I want to report on.
Oh, talk to me about the election. You're pretty caught up, and that's another aspect I wanted some of our viewers to understand. That he's from Argentina and he lives in Spain, and you've pretty much been red-pilled like I have, with a lot of topics. We've pretty much been aware of them too before all this, but it's becoming more heightened in the years. So, yeah, tell us what you know about the election. We're not claiming any kind of thing. We're just reporting what we see and hear.
Yeah. There's a guy I follow on YouTube. Two guys actually I follow on YouTube. I'll give them a shout out right now. One of them is Doug Tenaple. I recommend people who want to get caught up in what's going on as far as the audits and everything that's going on with the election audits. I know mainstream media is reporting a lot of stuff on it as being something that's outlandish or maybe far-reaching and stuff, but there's totally different information coming from these guys who are reporting on YouTube. They're not getting strikes on it, so they're just reporting stuff that's actual that can actually be corroborated and probably fact-checked with different sources while reporting what's going on. So these guys, the last things they've been saying is, I know the Maricopa audit was, a lot of things were being said about it, something to do with passwords and different things that were missing. Later on, they turned up that they had them, but all in all, they were trying to kick it back. They were trying to reject it once again. Was the last thing I heard. But then some other motion was filed where now they will be forced to look at the evidence. But one good thing that they keep mentioning the last 2 days has been that because of this Maricopa audit, I think now there's like maybe 4 or 5 different states, and I don't know how many counties where they have begun forensic audits, or not begun, sorry, where they have asked to be done the same type of audit, not just a normal audit, but forensic audits. It's a big difference. An audit would be just to recount the ballots and see if they matched up, and a forensic audit means that they would comb through each single one to make sure it's an actual one, and any discrepancies, if they were legal votes, whatnot, if it were done by dead people, if they were done by people multiple times, etc. But apparently these guys, one of them is Doug Tenaple, the channel Doug Tenaple, follow him for good updates, and the other one's Out of the Darkness, where he's also reporting some good stuff, and more or less the same stuff is coming out of there. Apparently a lot of good news is supposed to be coming in the next weeks, but I mean, it appears to be a long process.
I heard there's a Georgia audit coming, but I haven't heard anything else about it since.
Yeah, I heard these guys mention it. They mentioned it, but it's something that gets. I mean, there's very few people. Then there's a couple of people I can go check in the Rumble and all these other who report on it. Let me see. Bannon's War Room is another one on Rumble. If anybody's on Rumble and wants to keep updated with everything going on to do with 2020 elections in the United States, go check out Bannon's War Room on Rumble. You get uncensored, totally raw updates on everything that's going on in the voting and anything to do with that. Whenever they touch on it, yeah, they don't touch on it every single episode, but every day he does about a 50-minute podcast daily. I'm looking at his last ones. The last ones talk about the other lab. His last one talking about anything to do with the 2020 elections would be his 25th of May episode. His episode 974 is titled. No, excuse me, my bad. Episode 973 is titled "Misdirection Play." Mike Lindell's Royal Flush. This one was a good one. I haven't listened to the whole thing yet, but they were talking about different evidences that they were showing. Also, hold on. Also, there was something big that came out. It's the last thing I think I'll know is the last update coming from that was Doug Tenaple reported, and I went and checked it out for myself on Telegram. Sidney Powell posted a picture on her Telegram which showed the Dominion, oh, that's one of the key words there, showed the D machines some of the evidence presented where you could change the votes from one candidate to another via internet connection. She posted on Instagram. If anybody's on Telegram and they want to reach for Sidney Powell, you can go check out that picture. She posted it a few hours ago today. And Doug Tenable reported on that today. It's a pretty. I seen the picture. It's
Did you hear? What's it
fake.
called? Did it say Parler's back up?
Oh yeah, Parler's been back up for a while.
Yeah.
You know what? You mentioned that. I'm gonna check to see if my account is even still there. I haven't checked on it.
Yeah, I deleted it a while back. So
my page is missing, and I never deleted it, but it's not there.
They might have had all their stuff reset. They did get kicked off the servers, so who knows what happened there.
What do you know about Parler? Are they back up and running? This is supposed to be the right-wing platform full of fascists or whatnot. We were all there, a bunch of Latins and black liberals and stuff, that libertarians, right? I keep saying liberals because I get it confused in Spanish in my head.
George Floyd Square shootout. Anthony Bryant Logan just posted that an hour ago.
So are they celebrating the 1-year anniversary? Is because they marks the day from the George Floyd's death.
Yeah, I guess they got
a year when he was high on drugs.
Got to kill somebody in honor of George Floyd, right?
No way, dude. More trouble.
I mean, you got to keep reaping the sow, huh? Let's see, what else am I? I'm just going through my YouTube channels, just giving shout outs to other YouTube channels, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Black and White Sports, pretty good channel. I follow Anthony Bryant Logan. You follow him too.
Yeah, ABL. ABL's good. Good channel to follow.
I follow a lot of MMA channels. Officer Tatum, I like him. Conservative Twins. I listen to a lot of conservative media. Liberty Hangout. I don't really agree with a lot of leftist liberal views generally. So. Quick
question, Preston. When you were young, did you ever think when you'd grow up to listen to conservative media?
No. When I was coming out of high school, I went to Grady High School in Atlanta. I was pretty liberal-minded, and I still am liberal-minded. I think everybody deserves to be liberated, right, and be free. But I think that's done righteously through the Constitution and with American family values, not with.
What I want to know is something similar happened to you that happened to me. When I was young, I would have said, "Yeah, I'm liberal." And that was, more on the Democratic side of things, or in the States, for example, in politics.
I think they try to emotionally try to draw you to somewhere that you're not, and then you realize who you always were.
But haven't they moved the goalposts? Like when I was young, it was the right wing who censored my rap music or my heavy metal music or whatever it was, on the CDs, and they would put the warnings or whatnot. And now it seems like it's swung the other way totally around. It's like it would seem like the ones who are trying to censor everything and cancel is the left now. It has become, when I was young, that was something the right used to do.
Yeah.
Censor people. And
I've noticed that they change shoes a lot on different topics. Like right now, the left is more the warmongering, and when I grew up, it was kind of like the right side was the warmongering.
Yeah, exactly.
And then now it's kind of like you don't know really what's going on. Yeah. But I don't know. I believe there was a righteous time where the Democrats were righteous and they had their heart in the right place. And then the media pushes people to the other side, I think. And then
probably has a lot to do with corruption too. Think about all the entities that have been trying to infiltrate the United States. Now you can see them. Now we can see now you could see that it was never paranoia to think that there were powers and people like trying to take America down, North America down, the USA down. That this is it right here. Not just America, but the whole Western civilization, man. They're trying to take it down right now. So all those years that all that flip-flop has been going on, there's been a lot of push and pull. I'm sure there's been a lot of people with good intentions that got into politics, good intentions, and then ran into whatever clubs there is within there, and whatever madness is going on within there, then a lot of money, corruption. A lot of people might have said, I don't want any part of this. A lot of people might have said, oh, I'll take the money and whatever. And who knows, man. But there's been a lot of people trying to infiltrate. They have. They've done it everywhere, man. I thought they did it somewhere too in Argentina, and from the looks of it, I say it's always been that way. Like I said, since it started, they were already there. I think the only place that actually, in this side of the hemisphere, in the Americas, it was the States. They were the ones who had actually got these people off their backs. But from day one, from that Civil War, from day one, they were already trying to get back in. They were already trying to conquer that country again, man, somehow. And I'm sure there's been little battles and little wins here and there and little wars the globalists have used. I think, in my opinion, they have used the globalists, the global elite, the ones that don't have a flag, they don't have a country, they don't give a shit about any country. This global elite, I think, have used America as their you know how the way a drug dealer puts up a business to launder their money. I think the United States has fallen victim to that. I think a lot of the strings have been pulled from families, European families, and they've used U.S. military, and they've corrupted U.S. politicians, U.S. presidents. They've threatened them with their life. They've killed. To me, they killed Kennedy. They're the ones behind Kennedy. They've corrupted the CIA. They've corrupted the FBI.
The skull and crossbones gang. Yeah. That's what I think it was. The 223 clique. I think they're the evil ones. I do think there's good elite people though. I think a lot of people get distracted a lot and want to always hate every Freemason. I don't think every Freemason's evil.
It's not like, of course not. Just like every politician's not evil, just like every cop's not evil.
Right.
Just like every.
And I do think there's probably Freemasons trying to save the world. I do think
for sure. I think there's a fight. I think there's a clear fight. You can see there's a fight. You can see in the States.
One of my posts on Facebook that got one of the largest quacks is when I was like at my most popular flat Earth moment. I was getting tons of and I don't know why I had this thought, but I was constantly seeing YouTube stuff, right? And I said, it seems like there's a war going on right now between Freemasons and Jesuits, and that was kind of a feeling I was getting at the time, and I kept getting that feeling over and over again, like they're fighting for the public spectrum. And
you mean when all the information was coming out?
Yeah, like still coming out. I still think there's a war between different secret societies, and who has the control and power, but they all want to remain in power in general.
I think the governor of Texas and the governor, I think Abbott and DeSantis, they could be Masons easily.
And I don't like the way, I was a Ted Cruz fan, but I don't like the way he talks about the whole 2020, what we're going through right now. I don't like, he talks about it as in reality, and
sometimes though it's politics, sometimes you gotta pay politics. Like, so does Trump in many instances. He's talked about, he still does from the sidelines. He still talked about it, encouraged it in some instances. And look, there's only two possibilities.
Sometimes you can't rock the boat, and sometimes you gotta tell the sheep what they want to hear. Yeah. You
gotta pay politics, because if you come out tomorrow and you say, if you're any one of those guys and you come out tomorrow and say, look, this is all shambles, a lot of the people that were listening to you are gonna just drop off right there instantly. Yep. They're gonna say, oh, forget it, this guy's nuts. Forget it. And you can't afford that. You need support right now. So that happened. It's like the globalists were able to pull this move. They've been able to do it. And one thing's got to be said here. All these people, all these capitalists, they participated. They've made money off of the whole lie, off of the whole Pasteur from the beginning, that whole 100 and something years of that industry. It was a yearly thing, and to all the kids. And they all, whether they believe it or not, however it is that they stand, they benefited. A lot of people benefited. That's been in politics, and I would even say Trump, maybe, who knows, or whatever, not directly, but it's like this upper class, they were part of this. They're there, they know. So now it's like the globalists were able to pull this chess move on them where they can't say nothing. They got to fight the war somewhere else. Like, they can't say shit about this, because they also, a lot of capitalists, a lot of industry, a lot of American industry has to do with Big Pharma, right? So it's kind of like, all right, you got us on that one. We can't fucking come out and out you on that and expose you on that because we played that game too for many years, right? They did. That's not as true. So they got to keep playing that game. Right now, man, it's an information war. It's been an information war, and not having the right information can cost your life. I think they've tried to give signals as well because going back to Trump, I think when he caught the thing and he showed the world that there's a treatment for it, came out with it.
Yeah.
No, nothing. I
They
think
just
that's
demonized
also,
it.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Or at least he's trying to. I think that's one way of trying to tell people without saying anything. He's trying to tell you something right there.
Right. Yeah.
Tell people, hey, look, I caught it and I went, got this treatment. You can look up the treatment he got. You can go online. There's a special treatment. People are getting it, which is known to if you catch it early enough. You got.
One of my favorite quotes by him. I'm paraphrasing here, but he said something like, "There is a cure for it. It's caught it. You caught it. Now you're immune."
Yeah,
and I think people should read between the lines a lot when they hear a lot of things said like that. They should really.
They're playing another game. They're in a war. They're in a war themselves. I think this guy is trying to protect his country. Anyone that's all around the world. I think every country right now has their own dilemma with what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And the last line of defense, if you look around, it's clearly in the States. Every other place in Europe is playing the game. They're totally still trying. It would appear to me, from where I'm sitting, my panoramic view, Europe and South America are just they're gonna keep going with the same reset plan until and hope for the best with the States. Everybody just keep looking at States. There's states within the United States of America like California and other New York, which are still playing ball like they're playing ball here. But then you got Texas, Florida, and I think like 16 other states. I forget how many, 13 other states, which are open. And the reason why they can't get what they want to get right now is because those economies over there are open, fully open. You got games going on, UFC, all that economy is connected with Latin America and with Europe in one way or another. There's investors here too in the UFC or in certain corporations because it's multinational, obviously. So they can't bring down the economy the way they wanted to because of those states in America right now which are opening their economy and flourishing again, making money move. So the only way they were going to be able to make this work was if they could take down all of the states. But apparently there was a pre-Trump and post-Trump, even though Trump is not there as president anymore, there's a lot of states and governors who are proceeding with what Trump made or what he built or with that ideology, with that policy, with that America First policy. They're still going forward with it. So then that means that there's still people, and then all the people that you can see on the YouTube channels you mentioned, on a bunch of people are still there in that fight. And they keep saying these words, we the people. They keep speaking along these lines. They keep mentioning we the people, we the people. They forget that that's the way things are supposed to be. You guys are supposed to pick your leaders, and you're not going to give that up. Whereas in Europe or Latin America, even though in Argentina, our constitution starts the same way, just in Spanish. It says we the people in Spanish, but nobody talks like that on social media between each other. See, they don't have it in them. They don't have that. That's what I mean. That's what I'm telling you. That to me, the United States, back when those revolutions happened, when they freed themselves from the colonialists and from the Queen or whatever, they actually did it. They actually were able to do it. That's why they armed their people, and that's why they taught them we the people. But they like
nationalism,
like to the bone. But most of all, they armed their people. That's the giveaway right there. The first thing they did was, you guys can all be armed, because that way nobody can invade you because you're armed. No other country got that in all Latin America. All those revolutions, they were just like, okay, look, and that they've done the same thing, all the time. They exploited the people, and every time, like, the people rose up, okay, here's this great savior, and they gave them the savior, and people calmed down again, and they just kept evaluating, kept exploiting. Like Latin America, just like Africa, those two places, they've just been getting wiped out by Europe and by the States. And I would say more by Europe and more by the States during the years when you guys had administrations that were working more for the globalist agendas than they were for the American people. That's why I'm not mad at it like I used to be mad at the so-called American, empire, because now I figured out that there was always a struggle there. Just like there was, look, all South American countries have always been infiltrated by these fucking globalists. They've always been puppets, like a puppet Biden is today. So if you look at history in the States, you can see when there was presidents that played ball with globalist agendas, that turned over the money. I forget who it was, Withrow or whoever, that gave up the money to the Federal Reserve. There's certain presidents that made certain moves that weren't benefiting the American people, and the American people didn't know it was to their. They didn't know that was going on. They was always being told it was for their better, but there's been a lot of fuckery there going on. So that's why I don't have that. Yeah, whatever. It's still the best country. When you look at it all aside, it's still the best constitution that was made.
Multiple perspectives is always important to have. When you get a lot of friends from different countries, see, when I play a lot of online video games, I have friends from all over the place, and they have that. Some of them have that exact view of America of like, oh, you war machine, you're all ignorant Americans, you don't know anything, you're stupid, you only know one language, and they just assume that. Or like you're from the South, you have a Southern accent, you must be dumb or something.
Well, this has to be said. This has to be said with that. One, there's a lot of truth to it, but why is there a lot of truth to that? Because
it's there too.
Well, because the people who have infiltrated your governments, just like they've done it to countries like Argentina, the only difference is that we all find out, the rest of the world finds out what's happening in the United States, because it's so important. But the United States doesn't even know what happens in Argentina. Like, nobody gives a fuck what's going on there. But if you would find out that they're just like, they're also kept in their little bubble and whatever. They might not have a war machine, but if they would have a war machine, they would be exploited by the globalists who exploit the war machine that you guys have. You see, that's why the military probably likes Trump so much, because they're waking up to the fact that, hey, these guys have been sending us to these wars, and it's not wars for us, really. It's for the globalist agenda. These fucking corrupt presidents, whatever. Of course, that's a whole other story. Within the military, you got corruption too. You got fucking war-hungry, generals, or you got left-wing generals and you got right-wing generals. You got that going on too. It's like another country. The military of the United States of America, it's big enough to be a small country within itself. So imagine the politics within that. And there's a lot of game going on there too. And of course, the globalists have money in there too, have ideologies going in there too. If you look back, you'll see that one of the first things Trump did, I found this out last year when I went researching on what was this guy doing. Well, you'll look, if you research, you'll find out that one of the first things he did was take out all these fascist-minded generals that Obama had put in place.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he replaced them with constitutionalist-minded generals. That's important as hell, because that's important. You can have a military that would defend the Constitution, or you can have a military that would do a military coup on you, like Argentina's always had. My country's done one. Like, go look up at the history. There's a coup d'état every freaking 10 years. Every 10 years.
I watched this really fascinating a documentary by John Pillager. It was called The War on Democracy. It was about Venezuela.
Yeah, I think I've seen this one.
Yeah, it was really good. It's like a South African guy that does the audio. Yeah.
I'm about to stay without battery on the phone.
You about to die?
Yeah, I'm about to die over here.
All right. Well, we've been going for a minute. About an hour and 45 minutes, I think, or 30 minutes.
I can plug it in here. The only thing is that...
Well, I probably need to get going and doing some deliveries anyway. What I was going to say is we're going to start a new channel for the martial arts podcast eventually. We're going to have guests on here and do more shows. Talk about whatever. If you have ideas, thoughts, topics you'd like for us to discuss, drop in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe. We're out.
Peace.